Hey there, folks. This is Mitch Firestone with Precision Trading Labs in New York City. What we're looking at here is our Slack channel that we use, Slack workspace that we use to provide a lot of our services to our subscribers. And what we're looking at here is our intraday setup channel. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we deliver intraday setups to our subscribers. And what we do is we share basically bullish long position trades that are intended to be intradays. So you basically get in and out on the same day. Where we get our symbols and where we identify symbols of interest and then find setups on are looking at big gainers at the open. So every morning, about 10 minutes into the session, we send to our subscribers a little spreadsheet that basically just kind of and of course we run a hot list here. And so this is the top half of one of them, and just kind of a screenshot of it. And so this was something that we delivered yesterday on February 11th. And so these are all the big gainers at the open, about 10 minutes into the session. Okay, and in fact, I will then show you in a couple of minutes here. We actually had a really nice trade yesterday with CRS, and I think, let me see if there's another one here that's on. And actually, we had actually traded KAVL yesterday as well. So I'll kind of show you those setups and then what resulted in that from that. What I'll show you here now is a setup that we had earlier this week, and it's just kind of a good illustration of kind of what we do here. So this was one of those things that we had seen in the spreadsheet. This was something that gapped up strongly from about 650 from its previous close. At the time that I was looking at this, you can see it was up about 13% or so. And so price had gapped up, dropped down here, created this little local trough here, and then we had a bullish move out with this very strong bullish candle here, and then it kind of moved out from there. This kind of setup is something that which is the basis for our setup here. We had again this move down, a brief area consolidation, some escalating volume here, and so looking at that and a couple of other metrics in terms of the structure here, this suggested that when we got a pullback into this region, we would then ultimately see another bounce. And so that was the basis for this setup. So if we kind of now flash forward to kind of an after picture here, having just seen the before picture, here is what I was just showing you here. Obviously, I'm compressed it down so that we could see the whole thing here. But then later on in the morning, about 11:45, a little before lunchtime, we ultimately then price then pulled back into this level, and we ended up then getting a bounce out of here. And for various reasons in terms of the move out of here in terms of the distance, as well as how it came out and the volume pattern and a Fibonacci extension that we were looking at, we just decided that a 2-to-1 move out of this would be appropriate to take profits, and so that's what we did here. So this was a nice 2-to-1 move here. Obviously, rather low stress trade, kind of just hit off the front line, and launched, kind of paused for a bit, and then we had this nice surge out of here. And so inside of about an hour and 15 minutes, that was that. Okay, here's another setup that we were looking at here. So here's the spreadsheet that we were looking at yesterday that we had sent out. And so again, here's KAVL, which we traded, and here's CRS. So you can see it's at the time that we had sent this out, CRS was up about 10%. From its open. You can see it had gapped minimally here. So this wasn't about a gap play. This was simply that it had gapped up and then immediately a very tiny gap, and then had some major follow through off in the first 10 minutes of the session. So this indicated some really great strength, and so that was going to be the basis for our setup here. So you can see right here. So here's here's CRS here. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong one. Yeah, this had actually gapped up. Sorry about that. So anyway, this ran up here, created this little area of consolidation, kind of moved up, and we don't always necessarily get the initial pullback. So sometimes we actually have to follow a symbol upwards. In other words, just because you find a level doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get the pullback to that level. Sometimes you may end up having to find a level that's higher that meets your criteria, because in a sense you never get the pullback. And so that's what happened yesterday. So initially this was a level that we had seen. Frankly, I was actually hoping that we would get something higher, and also something where I didn't have to necessarily lean on a 1-minute chart. And fortunately we got that. A little later on, when price had pulled up here, we then ended up getting a kind of a similar trough of what I've shown you on that HUT setup here. Price came down. Notice this little indecision candle, that's kind of that doji that's sitting right in the middle there. And then again, notice we had that very bullish move. And now we're looking at about a 4-minute chart. So not that that's a big time frame, but 4 minutes compared to one minute obviously is a much bigger time frame, and it actually it tends to work a little better, at least for us. So at any rate, this again was the setup. So we had this drop, this base. Price rallied out of here, and again we're waiting for the pullback into this zone in order that we expect to see another bounce out of here. So that was the basis for the setup. So we kind of flash forward now. Here was that setup. Price then pulled in, hit off the front line again, a nice little low stress trade, and we got this bounce out of here. It kind of paused here a little, and it just kept going and going and going, and it actually kind of reached about 6 to 1 here. And so, depending on what various subscribers took this trade. Some people got at it 3 to 1. Some people kind of held it up here. I kind of threw in a few notes to people, and originally I kind of said one thing, and then I realized, it's 6 to 1. Why screw around with it and just take it off at 6 to 1? And so that was the basis of that trade. So that was a real nice setup for us. So a couple of other things we looked at yesterday. Let's see. I'll actually go to the live charts here on this now. So we had looked at KAVL, and I'll kind of bring up my platform here. So let me grab that here. So here was KAVL, and this was not nearly as low stress or not nearly as much fun as the other one. So this one, again, we had a pop here. Price came up here. This was our setup here. Price came up here, and then we ended up getting the pullback, and it never really caught fire. And it just kind of went into the zone, kind of bounced around a little, and finally around 1:30, I just kind of pulled the plug on it. So it was a 1-to-1 trade. No great shakes, but it does pay a few bills. And then the last one that actually triggered, we had actually shown our subscribers 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 setups yesterday, 3 of which triggered. So CRS, KAVL, and then the other one that triggered was this YMAB. Okay, so here's one where we had this setup, and again we identified 2 separate levels here. One was this one earlier in the session, and then this one a bit later, about a half an hour, I kind of identified this other setup here. So this was a lower one, this was a higher one, and so we were basically now waiting for this thing to pull back to this one, and this took its sweet time, and basically around about 3 o'clock, so with only about an hour to go in the session, this thing touched down. So I'd actually sent a note to people saying, look, we have an hour to go in the session, so this is a little more speculative because you're not going to have much time in the trade. But if you wanted to take a shot at this, we were landing in the zone. And so that basically then what happened was it pulled in. Again, didn't really drill deeply into it. It pulled up. This thing, if I blow this up just a little bit here, and we just kind of look at this, you can see it kind of came up. It then sort of started to consolidate. We kind of had a couple of very bearish candles here. That was a bearish candle. That's a relatively bearish candle here. And I kind of noticed that there was a lot of volume that came on that first bearish candle. And I just decided, at that point, I'm just going to take it off. So we had a 1-to-1. So we had 2 1-to-1 trades and a 7-to-1 trade yesterday. And of course, if one decided, and a couple of our subscribers did decide to just sort of hold out and let this thing run pretty much into the close, they were nicely rewarded. That thing ran right to 3 to 1. And then I think a couple of other subscribers, they actually got out at 2 to 1. So in fact, they actually did better than I did on this one. So at any rate, that's what I got. So thank you again Thank you for the privilege of your time here. I do appreciate it. If you are interested in finding trades like this, you can go to our website here at precisiontradinglabs.com. We have a free report that kind of goes through this concept of how we kind of set up our trades, and you can also set up an appointment. We'll be happy to talk to you about trading. So at any rate, that's what I got here. Again, thank you for the privilege of your time, and I will see you next time. Thank you.